Hello guys, welcome to Indiana Sports Connection. Thank you so much for joining me on this Saturday because we got a lot of stuff to talk about. I was watching a movie because it was family fun night last night, and tell me, this StreamYard, every time I've been logging into it, it says there's a problem, and I don't know what happens if it like resets the settings right before I log in or what. But I think I got all of the audio problems fixed here. But, you know, I'm actually watching the movie Luca last night because it's family fun night. So I turned the Michigan game on a little bit late. And just hear that first line when I turned it on. It's like, well, there's Dusty May with his new contract. So we're going to talk about that today. And we're going to talk about what Rick Pitino said. You know, probably 10 years ago when they won it in 2013, I really disliked Rick Pitino. And, you know, over time, it's funny how people just grow on you. But thank you so much, guys, for leaving the comments over here. We'll get into the comments today because, yeah, it's just like, it's another level of, you know, Dusty May. I think a lot of people were really pining for him, whatever that means. You know, wanted to see Dusty May. Is he going to be available? And we're going to talk about what the contract really is. I don't see it as like completely undoable, but definitely the likelihood of him coming went from maybe like 30% down to 5%, you know? So it's tough, and we're going to talk about Chris Beard in this episode too. But first, hit that subscribe button down below if this is your first time here or you're a returning viewer. Thank you so much for being here. Use my promo code Indiana125 and save 125% on your first 3 deposits, and 10% of the AdSense revenue goes to T2T.org. Without the veterans, we are nothing. And now let's get into talking about the Indiana Hoosiers without further ado. And I really do want to read part of what the article says about Dusty May's contract first on here. So, and I just realized I was muted. So, I have a contest winner today. The contest winner I'll reveal at the end of this. And I was saying, you know, sorry, I've had a lot of people at the house today and stuff like that. So it's been a whirlwind with kids here and everything like that, trying to get all of this set up. So, all right, now it's time. We could get into it. Let's just get into what Dusty May's contract says, like from the very beginning here. And so If it's finalized as expected, May would make $4,650,000 as a base salary next season and receive $100,000 raise every season over the next 5 years. His yearly salary will top off at $5 million in the final season. His contract signed last March provided an average annual salary of $3.75 million. May's buyout, which was $5 million in his first season, was set to decrease each successive season, and it has been raised to $7.5 million. So May's buyout is at $7.5 million now. That's not completely undoable, but I would say they're really signaling. I thought Dusty May was going to go the route where, I would have waited till you won the Big Ten, but Ward Manuel got in there, got to Dusty May like right off the bat, and I guess Dusty May is happy there, or there's many ways I guess I could look at this. Like maybe he took that contract because who knows? It's looking less and less likely that like he is going to be the guy that's going to come to Indiana. I just really have to face facts. I was really like hoping that none of this would happen. Maybe they would wait until the tournament was going on. I did hear Mike DeCourcy last week talking about, May, and that they would probably sign it right before the Big Ten tournament, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. But yeah, the likelihood of him coming is just getting lower and lower. Now let's talk about Pitino and what he said about Chris Beard. And I'm not like a lover of Pitino. I really thought like when they kind of stole our spot in 2013, they got the number 1 overall seed. They got to play. And then it came out that they were cheating and everything like that. It was typical Pitino all the way. But this guy, he knows coaching. So when it comes to saying what he thinks about a coach and their practices and stuff like that, I do think if you're just going to look at that in a vacuum, the guy said a lot of kind words about Chris Beard. Let's get into talking about what he said on here because yeah, it was just, he had a lot of real shining things to say about Chris Beard. And I apologize. I am like fighting a sickness right now, and at the end of this, we are just going to talk briefly about what IU's got to do against Purdue here in about 45 minutes. But while he has been suggested as a good candidate for the Indiana job, Pitino seems like an unlikely target for IU AD Scott Dolson. So I don't think he would ever be the Indiana coach under any circumstance. I just don't think Dolson's going to go that route. If you're going to take a guy that does some shady stuff, you might as well pick somebody else, But Pitino can coach, and that's why there are people on his side of wanting him to come into Indiana. But Pitino is 72 years old, led a scandalous tenure at Louisville that resulted in the 2013 national title being vacated by the NCAA. I did not even realize that. Friday on Pardon My Take podcast, Pitino said he hasn't been contacted by Indiana. He wasn't interested in promoting himself for the job. No one from Indiana has contacted me, said Pitino when he was on that podcast. I would never hire myself for that job. I belong at St. John's. But Pitino didn't stop short of injecting his opinion into the IU hiring process. He said Dolson's search should start and stop with one person. Can I give you my pick? Okay, so I'm going to have some people upset with me, Pitino said. I don't know who's going to be upset with him, but the more people I think that come out and talk about Chris Beard, and we're going to talk about Chris Beard right after this, the better, because if I was AD at Indiana, am I friendly with this person? Yes, I am. Do I have a lot of respect for this person? Yes, I do. I would immediately not even interview anybody else and hire one of the premier coaches in all of college basketball, and that's Chris Beard from Ole Miss. I wouldn't even think about another person. He's perfect for that job. He's tough, hard-nosed. The years I was sitting out, I got friendly with him because he asked me, He didn't know me. I didn't know him. And I'll tell you, that's one thing I love about Beard is like he's got an open door coaching policy. He's always like open to, he's just very open to collaboration or working with other people, which is what we were promised by Mike Woodson at the same time. But this guy actually lives it every day. Going on, I didn't know him. To come out to speak to his team, he was at Texas Tech. I went out and I spoke, but I watched 2 days of practice, and I always judge a coach by his practices. And I have to tell you, those were some of the best practices and meetings with his team that I've ever witnessed. So I'm a gigantic fan of Chris Beard, and this is Pitino still talking here. He would kill it at Indiana. He'd have them in the top 5 to 7 every single year. Remember what he brought to Texas Tech to the championship game. He could have won. That young man from Virginia didn't hit that corner shot. Great shot that he did hit. So he's a superstar, top 3 coach in my estimation. Yes, this, like with Dusty May looking like he's out of the picture, is this entire coaching search going to be defined by that Chris Beard, that Indiana would be too uppity to get Chris Beard? Here's what I wrote just a little bit ago, and this is like my real talking point on this entire thing, because like, is this what is going to define this coaching search, that Chris Beard, I mean, who are we really? Are we really that much better than Ole Miss? Are we above winning at Indiana? That's what I'm starting to think. Like, so many people are just, I see people clamoring over, well, the people within the media and people inside Bloomington all saying, Chris Beard's a non-starter, Chris Beard's a non-starter, and then poll the fans. I've seen a lot of polls on Locked On Hoosiers with Kent Sterling. I put out a poll. They all had Chris Beard at like 50 to 70% of the fan base. That number, now that Dusty May is starting to look like he's out of the conversation, that number is definitely going to go up. And I'm going to put out a poll later today with Dusty May still on there. Now, I mean, there's other guys. I'm not saying like it's got to be Chris Beard and nobody else could do this job, because I think there are other guys that could do the job. But I think when you're looking at it overall, the guy who has the most experience, the guy who looks like he could bring in a winner right away, the guy who's going to bring guys from Ole Miss, because I don't think Ben McCollum at Drake, I think he could bring a player or two over from there. But Ole Miss is playing in the SEC. The SEC is really good this year. I mean, they're going to maybe get like maybe 13 to 15 teams in. I mean, it's unbelievable how tough the SEC is. So you got a guy that's coaching at the top of his game. Plus, I heard Todd Leary saying this the other day. I mean, Ole Miss vetted Chris Beard. Isn't he already vetted by another university? I mean, if Ole Miss is good enough for the Mannings to be there, I mean, come on. Who do we think we are? We're that much better than Ole Miss. But it is definitely, it's just one of those things where it's so frustrating because we want to win. And that's all I think a lot of people care about at this point. You just put us through 8 years of Archie Miller. And look, we got rid of Tom Crean because we thought we're going to take a step up. And then this has turned into 8 years of like 4 years of Archie Miller, which was awful. And I know we had the COVID thing in between there. And then Mike Woodson coming in and then doing all the things he's done, which is just really entirely fenced himself in. But it is, see some of the comments over here, but because it's just becoming kind of a frustrating process to watch for Indiana and everything involved with the entire thing, because is there any chance that they hire Chris Beard? If not, I would almost like them to just come out and say, he's not a candidate. There's no way. And then I can move on in my mind to thinking about other things. I do think, still Chris Collins could be a guy that could do the job. But I think if you look at overall, the type of coach and not having anything to do with the night stuff does not matter to me at all. It's the defensive mindset. And it's that how he gets his teams to really his guard play and be able to shoot the ball from the perimeter. I've been watching Ole Miss all year, and I'm just impressed. Now they got blown out. I was watching the game. They got blown out by Mississippi State. I'll tell you, blowouts happen. And the blowouts that Indiana's had, they're just so much more consistent. And then you don't get that revenge game out of it. If a team gets blown out and they come out in the next game and they play with their hairs on fire, most of the time people just forget about the whole thing. It's when you play multiple games, it's like, all right, we're playing a top 10 team. Well, we got blown out. Oh, we're playing a top 10 team, top 20 team. Every time we're playing a team, really, this year inside the top 40, we're getting blown out. So all these blowouts got to be taken into context, because I have watched Ole Miss lay a couple of eggs this year, which is to be had. I mean, if you watch the Pitino clip where he's going off on his team, it's like at halftime, I mean, they were down 20 in that game and came back, but you can get down 20 in games. It's just, how Indiana plays. Now, let's talk a little bit about the game today, because we know these guys. We know exactly who these guys are. I'm not going to go over the stats. I'm not going to go over all that stuff. You got to get in. Can Galloway or Anthony Leal, play tough defense on Braden Smith? Can they get after this guy and trap them in the way that Michigan State did the other day? I mean, Indiana did it the first time. The first game, I mean, Braden Smith, they kind of took him out of the game. He made his mid-range shots, but that's going to be a key to this. Will Miles Rice start or not start? I'm telling you, like, as these games wind down, it's like more and more you're just kind of like losing faith in these players. Hopefully, it's a Purdue game. They got a good crowd there today, and they can come out. And I hate to even say it, play spoiler, because you know what? Like, who plays spoiler? You know who plays spoiler? Minnesota basketball. That's who plays spoiler. Indiana is not supposed to be the team, like, hanging around the bottom like, yeah, if we could really beat Purdue today, it's going to spoil their fun. It would really make my day to see Purdue lose, and they would have lost 4 in a row, but it's yet to be seen. We need to see them play a game at home. They've had a bunch of days off. So what have they been doing in all those days off? There's 168 hours in a week. So depending on how much of that time they were spending at the bar this last week, I mean, that's going to maybe determine how they're going to play in this game. So, oh man, it is great to see. Higher Beard, I like this comment. Higher Beard, settle for the choir boy that brings mediocrity and competing for. Yep, I believe that. I think it's going to come down to this. I feel like this entire coaching search is going to be defined by whether or not we hire Chris Beard at this point, because I hear fans all over, they don't care about it. They want to win. We want to win more than anything, and that is the reason why we got to bring Chris Beard in here. And I was talking to a lot of other people too, like, I'm right on that cusp of like Generation X, because I was born in 82, but it's like Chris Beard, a lot of these guys, they are part of like that last really hardcore generation. If you're Generation X, you probably grew up, both of your parents were working, you're more independent. So that is also part of the reason why I love Beard. It's just like, I relate to those guys. I'm 42 and, he's 48. Or he's 52, and I know Dusty May is 48, but it's like, we bring this guy in, he's going to make immediate, and this guy would douse himself in gasoline and run through hell to get this job. That's all you need to know. He wants it. He wants to come in. If you watch his clinics, I don't believe a guy who is like going to be beating a woman is going to have more of a track record than this one just like isolated event. If I saw more information or more things like and I don't even know what people are talking about when they say, oh, there's more there, because I've never seen any evidence of that. I've read the police report. Yes, it said he did this and he did that, and then it was recanted and whatnot. So you really just got to take it for what it's worth. So thank you so much for joining me today. And I have the contest winner of the home field apparel. It is coming your way, and I may do a video after the Purdue game as well, because I am home today, and there are a lot of people here at the house. I might as well just, if we'll see how the game goes and how fired up I really get. But the contest winner, it is at JOEKEUSCH 5995. You left the comment on the video 3 days ago. I remember not too long ago, IU fans were telling me that Leo was the answer. And laugh out loud, this is some really entertaining stuff, I'll say that. So, at Joe Koosh 5995, you won the home field apparel. Email me, indianasportsco@proton.me, and collect your prize, and I will send you a shirt from Rally House. Any shirt of your choice from there. But yeah, all this coming out. Looks like May is gone. Looks like Beard is going to be even more of a candidate. And we still got to look at other candidates, because we're going to have weeks of this coaching search still going on. But thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Indiana Sports Connection. Until next time, stay classy out there, Hoosier fans.